What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Criminal Minds Season 13, Episodes 10 through 13. So, before I get into this, I do need to apologize. I was not able to watch these 4 episodes back to back to back to back like I have for some of these shows. So, it's going to take me a second. If I forget anything, it's because I wasn't able to watch all these and then instantly get to the review. So, I'm going to do my best to get through it episode by episode, but let's talk about, first of all, episode 10, Submerged. So this one, none of these, to be honest, were very standout, like, oh, that was really, really awesome. There was one that stood out as a little bit strange, but as far as these episodes in general, all 4 of them were good Criminal Minds episodes. They were ones that were enjoyable, but nothing that really made me go, wow, that episode's going to stick with me. All of them were just kind of like, okay, yeah, that was pretty good. So this one, we see a guy is drowning people in their pools, tying them up to cinder blocks and dumping them in their pools. And the team finds out that this happens the day after a body turns up in this lake that's a part of the town, which apparently it was flooded a while back, and so people died, and it was a terrible tragedy. And of course, it's tied. The killer in this episode, it's tied to that. Whenever he was a kid, he and his friend were pretending to be pirates, and they thought they found treasure, and his friend decided he was going to stay there, and then the flood happened, and his friend died because of it. There's also this guy that's suspected for a second, and so we find out that his son apparently disappeared on the day of the flood, and so we're all thinking, oh, well, maybe his son is the one killing him, and it turns out to be a friend of his son, and I don't know, it just kind of felt like something they sort of threw in there to make you think one thing, just to turn around your expectations in the end and be like, oh, no, it wasn't his son after all. It was just his friend. So, I don't know. Nothing really, like I said, nothing really stood out about this episode. It was just another typical Criminal Minds episode. Guy thinks he's a pirate. His friend died at a young age, so that affected him mentally. And so now he's killing people because that's where his mind goes for some reason. I'm still not entirely sure, I guess he thought he was doing it because it was a way to make up, to atone for what happened, killing these people because he felt like they were responsible for his friend dying. But ultimately, at the end, there's this little kid that's talking to him throughout the episode, and he tells the little kid, hey, let's be pirates together. And of course, this little kid is just like, yeah, sure, why not? Because, in this day and age, everybody knows that you talk to strangers, right? I don't know. That is the one thing that just sort of didn't make any sense to me about this episode is this kid. There's a creepy guy who's always watching through binoculars as they're digging dead bodies out of the lake at this random cabin that's completely abandoned. And this kid just comes up, he's like, hey, are you staying here? Don't worry, I won't tell anybody. You want to hang out with me? Because you're not creepy at all. Do you not understand that in this day and age, most parents say, stay away from strangers, stay away from people you don't know? So, I don't know. That was pretty strange. But the rest of it, it was a normal Criminal Minds episode. It was pretty good for what it was. Then we get to episode 11, Full Tilt Boogie. This one had the potential to be something very interesting. And then ultimately turned into just another Criminal Minds episode. So we see the sheriff's wife. He goes out of town with his kids on a father-children camping event. And so she goes to hang out with some of her friends at this local bar, club, whatever. And this one guy is all creepy, hitting on her and stuff. And then she turns him down. He meets her outside the club and threatens her pretty much if she doesn't go home with him. And then she kicks him in the nuts and heads back to her place with a cop sort of keeping an eye on her. And so he kind of, I don't know, the thing about this guy is that he wasn't a bad guy, ultimately. We find out he did sort of know a little bit about what was going on with her and her drug abuse and stuff. But in this first scene, they try to make him seem very creepy, which, in my opinion, kind of put him off as a suspect for me. They do end up suspecting him at one point right before he dies, but I just never really suspected him because they were so straightforward, blunt with his creepiness at the beginning that it was way too obvious. He's like, are you sure you want to stay here alone? I would just feel terrible if you were here all alone without, any sort of protection. Just what? And of course she's just like, no, it's okay, we'll be fine. or I'll be fine. And then, of course, then she gets attacked. I thought they were just going to kill her, but it turns out they just sort of knocked her out and then buried her alive, and then she ends up in a coma. And so that's where the team steps in, tries to figure out what's going on, which, I don't know, is kind of weird that they were called for this one attack. It's not like this is something that was continually going on. It's no sort of like serial killer aspect to this case. So I don't really remember why they specifically were called in. I think it was a local thing, so maybe that's why. But yeah, so they're called in to check it out. At first they suspect maybe the husband because he has kind of all the tics of a violent tendency. She has apparently been in the hospital for several accidents, but turns out he didn't do it. The creepy cop, like I said, he didn't do it, then he dies. And so they go through all of these little things, trying to figure out who done it, and then ultimately find out it's just this woman who was giving the woman, like, drugs. Some random lady that we hadn't met before. And so that's, like I said, that's just typical Criminal Minds. We don't know who this person is at the beginning of the episode. We find out, like, halfway through who this person is actually, and then it turns out to be, they're crazy. So I don't know. Like I said, it had the potential to be maybe more of a mystery. Maybe this is one where they step in because it's a personal favor, and then they go in, they're trying to figure things out, and instead of it being like, oh, it's a serial killer, no, it turns out to be, no, this is just a mystery. It's like the one episode where the kid goes missing, and they're suspecting this person who's been kidnapping kids for several months now. Oh, maybe it's a serial killer, and it turns out to be just a family dispute. That was pretty interesting. It's something that stood out to me because it looked like it was going to be just another Criminal Minds episode with a serial killer at the end, but then it turned out to be more of a mystery and a bit more of a personal case. And so that's where this one, maybe it was going to be a personal case, and then it turned into just another Criminal Minds episode with somebody psychotic. Yeah, like I said, it had the potential to be different, and then it just went into another Criminal Minds episode. Then we get into episode 12, Bad Mood on the Rise, and yeah, this one did stand out a little bit more, but not necessarily in a good way. So just the premise of this, basically, a man and his wife are out with their kid one day, or one night, walking through the park, and then this guy comes up to rob them. Very Bruce Wayne-esque, I guess you could say. Honestly, that's kind of how it felt, because he's like, give me the money, give me your necklace, and the necklace won't come off, and I'm like, oh no, is the pearl necklace going to break, and the pearls are going to... Anyway, so the son sees a chance to fight back, so he starts fighting back, grabs the gun, and then gets shot, dies. And so the father and mother eventually split up, and the father's very torn up about it. And so he feels like he should have done more because he was just kind of standing there frozen with fear. And so what's the most logical way to approach this? Well, go get some canine teeth and pretend you're becoming a werewolf and killing people in the park that deserve it, or you think deserve it. Instantly, that's where my brain goes. I'm just like, okay, I need to become stronger. I need to get rid of my fear. I need to be a werewolf. It's obvious to... don't get me wrong. I understand what they're going for. The father clearly lost his mind when his son died. That's what they're trying to go for here. That's where normal people wouldn't just go to werewolf. I get it. But he lost his mind, and so he's just like, ooh, full moon. That's where I'm going to get my strength. I'm going to get myself into lycanthropy or whatever it's called. That's how I'm going to get the strength that I need. But to me, I'm just sitting here laughing. Like, this is really ridiculous sounding to me. Just that is where his mind instantly went, is I need to be a werewolf. Not just, turning into a vigilante, not trying to avenge his son's death by, trying to kill a bunch of other people who were trying to mug somebody. No, he just starts killing random people in a park as a werewolf. The idea and the premise is so ridiculous that it's going to stick with me for a while, but it's definitely not something that's going to stick with me for a good reason. It's just going to be very funny and ridiculous. But I can't remember if it was this episode or episode 11. I'm pretty sure it was this one. But we did get a little bit more development with Luke he's seeing this girl. And the only reason I mention this is because it kind of seemed like maybe they were going to do something stupid with it. Like he's having a date with her at the beginning. Garcia comes in and kind of interrupts, saying, "Hey, we have a case." She talks to the girl for a little bit. And so I was kind of like, where are they going with this? Or what are you trying to do here? And so the girl calls him and is like, "Look, I don't think this is going to work out." And I'm just like, okay, seriously? Like, are we doing this random thing where she actually thinks Garcia is something, he has feelings for her, even though she just popped up and said, "Oh, I'm his coworker," and I don't know, like, what are you doing here? What is going on? What is your plan? And then she's like, "I just can't be with a guy who lies to me. You said you didn't have any kids," and she said, "You're a little girl." And I'm just like, please just tell her it's your dog. Please just tell her it's your dog. Get over this. I don't know why you're doing this show, but just get past this, please. And sure enough, he's like, "No, that's Roxy's my dog." And she's like, oh, I feel stupid now. And then he's just like, "Can we just start over?" And I don't know. It kind of feels pointless to me. Like maybe they're giving him somebody to talk to hang out with, to date. But just the story for this episode, it felt like it was either going to go somewhere completely stupid or just kind of pointless. A random fight in this one off of their first date from a misunderstanding that instantly gets cleared up. I'm just like, what was the point of all of that? Why make me go through an episode of that where I'm sitting here thinking something stupid is about to happen? But anyway, so that was moved past pretty quickly. Luke does talk to Matt at some point about how he feels about this girl and how he thinks, maybe there's something here. I really enjoy talking to her and stuff. I will say the fact that he met her through his military buddy that he goes to visit and stuff and got him the dog, that was a pretty interesting way to meet. And I think, it's a pretty natural way for them to meet as well. So, yeah, I do think it may be something interesting later on, but for right now, it's just, whatever. And then we get to episode 13, Cure. This is another episode, kind of like episode 11, that had the potential to be something really interesting, and it just kind of became another Criminal Minds episode. So we see this one guy is going around killing people and then like putting these manifestos in people's throats, and then on top of that he puts out like this manifesto online or something, calling himself the cure and all these people are the disease. And on the face of it, it looks like some really intense serial killer who is doing this, making it seem like he's more than one person, but he's actually just one person. And it made it seem like maybe he was targeting the FBI, maybe he was trying to get through to them, because the ciphers that ended up being his manifesto that he's putting in people's throats were way too complicated for anything the police might be able to figure out. It's something that only Reed and Garcia were able to figure out. So you kind of look at that and say, well, maybe it's something personal with the FBI. Maybe he knows the team. Maybe he just wants to be noticed. But then it turns out to just be some kid who doesn't like his father dating this new woman, and so tries to kill his father, and then for some reason also killing other people. I don't know. Like, I know they said that he did have a military background, so maybe there was some PTSD involved. But they did mention that he was killing these other people to get up the strength to try to kill his father. But why? The explanation was so rushed that I actually kind of missed quite why he was crazy. So I don't know. It felt like it was going to be this maybe building up for the rest of this season, this new maybe some sort of like cult organization that they're going up against, but then it just turns out to be a random guy killing people because he doesn't like his father dating a new woman, so he wants to kill them, and that's pretty much it. That was it. And then ultimately they even don't find the last lady that he took, the woman that the father was dating. They make it seem like, oh, we got to find her. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, her blood is on his hands. And they're just like, oh, we're too late. And I'm just like, wait, what? So now you can't find her because she's already dead? So what was the point of all of this? I don't know. It frustrates me whenever I see the potential for something. I'm just like, oh, this could be really interesting. And then just nothing happens, and it's just a random bad guy that ends in this episode. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for these 4 episodes. All of them pretty standard Criminal Minds. The one with the werewolf is obviously going to stand out a little bit just because it's kind of crazy and out there. But the rest of them were just kind of standard. So I don't know. This season has not really had anything aside from the first episode with Mr. Scratch that made it stand out. And it frustrates me because I feel like there should be something else going on. And at the end of this 13th episode, they do call in JJ. She's talking about, the director's calling me in. I will say there was this one weird scene where she's talking to Matt about it. And he's talking to her about, she's the one that disbanded our team. And she's like, really? Well, what do you think she's calling me in for? And instead of encouraging her and saying, oh, it's probably nothing, he makes it sound worse because he just starts talking about, she does this and this, is all power for her. And it just leaves it on that, maybe this is something bad. Oh, maybe you do have a right to worry. What? You're supposed to encourage her because she's feeling nervous, not make it seem worse than it is. But ultimately she gets called in, not for her, but because she's going to look into Prentice for some reason, and she wants JJ to take charge of the team while Prentice is on, leave, while they're looking into her case. Maybe that's got something to do with the Scratch episode at the beginning. Maybe not. I don't know. It feels like it was kind of randomly thrown in to suddenly add weight to this season, because really this season hasn't had much weight at all. And I don't know. That has been a problem. Because when you're 13 seasons in, you need something different to sort of spice up the season, and there's not been anything new. It's just been same old Criminal Minds. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping they've got something up their sleeve. Maybe this whole thing with Prentice, maybe it's going to be something interesting and something different. But for right now, I just don't feel like they've got anything new going on, and that's been the biggest problem for me. So that's it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this episode? So let me know. We can talk about it and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Criminal Minds reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.